5 bizarre and unexplained archaeological discoveries. Archaeology is the study of humankind's history, but despite our technological advances, sometimes archaeology throws us a curveball, leading us to ask questions we simply can't find the answers to. The cases on this list display such anomalies. These are 5 bizarre and unexplained archaeological discoveries. Number 5. Frankenstein Mummies. It's interesting enough to find ancient mummies, but more perplexing is to find these once mummified skeleton bones don't even belong to the same human being. But that's what archaeologists and scientists discovered in South Uist, Scotland. Since the 80s, archaeologists have identified Clad Hallan in Scotland as a special site containing ancient settlements dating back around 2000 BC. In 2001, it was business as usual for the archaeologists digging away at ancient houses from the Bronze Age when they discovered 4 preserved skeletons. One was a teenager, the other a child. The 2 others were skeletons of an adult male and female. These latter 2 intrigued the team. They conducted studies and found the female skeleton died around 1300 BC. The male, on the other hand, died around 1600 BC, over 300 years prior to the female. Both skeletons were beautifully preserved and buried in a fetal position. Fascinated with the find, they didn't know what to make of it initially. They thought the extreme fetal position indicated the skeletons might have been mummies instead of just skeletons, and they were right. After testing for months, they discovered the skeletons were once mummified, but this exciting find soon led to baffling questions. For instance, the male skeleton was buried 600 years after death, while the female waited 300 years after death before it was likewise buried. How did these mummies survive for hundreds of years without decomposing? And why did it take hundreds of years for the mummies to be reburied? A possible answer to the first question is that the bodies were placed in a peat bog temporarily to mummify, then taken out before the acid consumed the bones completely. Bogs are great at preserving bodies after death. For the Clad Hallan mummies, it's believed they were submerged in a bog for a time to mummify the organs. They were removed, possibly displayed for hundreds of years before then being reburied. This was mysterious enough, but more tests were run and it unveiled another strange detail. The bones of both skeletons did not belong to one single individual. Dubbed as the Frankenstein skeletons, science revealed the female skeleton was made up of bones of people who died in the same period, while the male skeleton was composed of bones from people who died hundreds of years apart. The female had a male skull, a female torso, and the arms of another person whose gender is unknown. Why did the ancient people of the area take the trouble of creating such mummies? Archaeologists believe that they were assembled and left unburied for hundreds of years before being reburied to serve as some form of a religious function. It's not unusual for ancients to worship their own dead rulers and gods. There's also the possibility it may have been some form of ancient funeral home hodgepodge. The idea being that it was easier to place someone else's skull on a body that had lost its head and needed to be mummified. Regardless of the real reason, there's no denying it's a baffling archaeological find. Number 4. China carvings. Fuxian Lake in Yunnan Province, China, is a huge lake featuring water so clear the ancient Chinese used to refer to it as a large area of shining glass. But its shimmery surface is also hiding something special underneath. On June 13, 2015, archaeologists uncovered remains of an ancient structure buried underneath that lake. They found large stones with mysterious carvings, proving that at one time, a large complex or structure might have stood above ground or at least close to the lake. According to historians, the area of Fuxian Lake once recorded a city by the name of Yuyun during the Han Dynasty that thrived between 206 BC and 907 AD. But from 24 to 589 AD in the Sui and Tang Dynasty, any trace record of Yuyuan had disappeared. The legend says that this city, along with its inhabitants, went the way of Atlantis and was submerged in the middle of the lake. The other theory is that instead of Yuyun, the ruins found could be from the ancient Dian kingdom. A more recent investigation discovered, though, that this was impossible. It can't be either Yuyan or a city from the Dian Kingdom, because both were made primarily from wood and clay, but the discovered ruins are crafted primarily from stone instead. With the new findings, archaeologists are inclined to believe this could be an ancient, undocumented city far older than once thought. Sonar imaging suggests the complex covers about 2.4 kilometers, a size bigger than that of the Han Dynasty. With such a large size, it's baffling to archaeologists why there were no historical records of it. Perhaps the most intriguing is the discovery of mysterious carvings on what looks to be a submerged pyramid in the lake. Unlike the pyramids found in Egypt, this one seems to be more advanced because it features carvings and symbols on the outside of the stone. One carving showcases a small circle surrounded by 7 radial lines. Archaeologists believe that this depicts the sun. Other carvings that caught their attention was a series of what looked to be zeros and ones commonly used for binary encoding. There are also 7 holes arranged neatly on the stone. Other drawings include what looked to be a mask and possibly even a human face. All of these are still being studied, but the finding is proving to be an intriguing one. If indeed it's proven that the ruins are thousands of years old, archaeologists will have to figure out which tools were used to make them, and of course, decipher what the actual symbols mean. Number 3. Giant footprint of Pingyan. Stories of giants roaming the earth have been told for hundreds of years. From the Bible to the Greeks, these tales are told with awe but often dismissed as nothing but literature and legends. But the discovery of a giant footprint in Pingyan, China could change all that. On August 24, 2016, a giant fossilized human footprint was found embedded on a rock in the village of Pingyan, a southwestern province in China. The footprint found measured approximately 22 inches long and 7 to 8 inches wide with a depth of about 3 centimeters. It consisted of several toes and what looks to be a foot arch. What makes it stand out is its size. Compared to the ordinary human foot, which averages around 6 to 8 inches, this one makes it likely the human or creature was quite tall. Although many are questioning the authenticity of the reports, there are plenty of images taken of the footprint. Apparently, though, this isn't the first giant footprint discovered in the world. A man named Michael Tellinger is said to have dated a fossil footprint in Africa to be more than 200 million years old. This footprint was found in 2012, and according to Tellinger, it proves giants once roamed the earth. Of course, he's not without his detractors. Tellinger brands himself as an archaeologist, but others say he's nothing but a conspiracy theorist. Another point of contention is that the Pingyan footprint was found in solid granite, a material that doesn't hold footprints well at all, leading others to wonder if it's real. Also, the rock is said to be much older than 200 million years, and instead close to 3.1 billion years old. Another report of a giant footprint found in Bolivia has also sparked interest. However, this was later ruled as a footprint of a giant carnivorous dinosaur instead of a human. But the imprint of the animal proved troublesome to paleontologists because they aren't certain what kind of animal left it behind or how it came to be. These indentations are curious enough to capture people's imagination of roaming giants on ancient Earth. Whether they're real or not still remains to be seen. Number 2. Macedonian werewolf skull. Werewolves are traditionally creatures of myth, but it seems proof of their existence might have been found in Novo Selo Stipsko, Macedonia. A Bulgarian student was visiting the village while doing research on the Balkan Wars when he came across a farmer named Treci. He told him he was digging in a new portion of his field when he discovered a buried box that was chained shut. On the inside cover of the box was Cyrillic script commonly used in Macedonia and Bulgarian language. The text on the box roughly read as "Attention, Danger, Werewolf," or "Caution, Danger, Vampire." Although the farmer would not part with the box, he allowed the student to take pictures of the skull inside. The images were then shown to local wildlife officials, and they said it was likely a wolf or canine that suffered Paget's disease. The latter is a genetic condition found in both animals and humans. It causes bone mutation and results in a somewhat disfigured looking creature. The skull features long canine teeth in the front and a baboon-like shape to the skull, making it easy to compare to the legendary werewolf. Werewolves have always played a role in Balkan folklore, but stories and legends vary depending on the region. There are those that believe being a werewolf is hereditary and is passed down from generation to generation. Others say people who die in mortal sin or create a pact with the devil are reborn as werewolves. Despite the differences, werewolves are essentially disposed of in the same way. They are hunted during Saturdays because that's the time of their rest, making them easy to capture. When werewolves are caught, they are exorcised by a priest, then decapitated. The body is then burned, while the head is buried, just like how the Macedonian skull was found. People around the village where the box was discovered have told Tracey that he will be reborn as a werewolf because he opened the box. However, he's not fazed at the thought of it. He said, "What is done is done." On the flip side, there are also those that believe the skull is a clever hoax. They say the box the skull was found in looks too new to be of any significant age. Also, the skull itself looks like a composite, and there are no eye holes, which is required for the nerves to pass through from the eyeballs to the brain. Hoax or not, the skull is an interesting mystery worth checking out. Number 1. Domestic dinosaur carving. Thanks to Tomb Raider, the temple complex of Ta Prohm in Siem Reap, Cambodia, gained so much attention it's become one of the most visited tourist attractions in the world. Built between 1181 and 1218 AD, the temple monastery was once used for worship by the Mahayana Buddhists. When the empire broke up, the temple then became abandoned. The forest moved in and reclaimed much of the structure until it was discovered in the 19th century. Much of the site was excavated, some restored, and most of the forest and trees cleared out. What's unique about the Ta Prohm temple is that the trees in the area were kept intact because they had melded so much with the temple and the root system had added to its beauty. But aside from that, there's one curious reason why people are interested to see the temple in person. Apparently, there's an animal carving said to depict an actual dinosaur. Bearing a striking resemblance to a stegosaurus, many people say the animal featured proves dinosaurs may have survived late enough to live alongside man. The carving shows an animal with several spikes or plates along its back. Modern people who see it liken it to a stegosaurus, but of course others are skeptical and believe there are other possible explanations. Skeptics say the animal depicted could be something like a rhinoceros or boar, and the plates behind it are nothing but decorative elements only. There are also others that mention it could be a chameleon that the Khmer people were familiar with. Regardless, the carving is truly a unique find, one that ignites more questions than absolute answers. If you find yourself at the temple, you can view the carving in a corner of the courtyard. Just look to the left area of the central exit and decide for yourself. So there were 5 bizarre and unexplained archaeological discoveries. Archaeology is a unique field. For many, it holds the answers to mankind's past as well as portions of history that are still trying to be fully understood. If you enjoyed watching this, then please check out some of our other videos and subscribe to our channel. Every Wednesday and Saturday, we're putting out new videos for you to watch. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you soon.